When you reach the top of the mountain, everybody's looking for any excuse to dethrone you. We've seen it time again. We've seen it from the John Jones, the Amanda Nunes. Well, now we have Alexander Volkanovski, goes up, tries a new mountain to climb at lightweight, takes a step back, and he's back to the original weight class where everybody thinks Ilia Topuria, undefeated, is going to be the one to dethrone the champion. Now, we got a lot to talk about here. We got some bets that we have to make. We got some plays that we have on store for you, and I can't wait to break it all down, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. My name is Derick G. I am your host, and breaking it down with me, as always, my co-host, the Santa Fe Bomber, the New Mexico native, AJ Volkanovski, man. This is a dude who's a generational talent. Dethroned Max Holloway. A lot of people thought that would be difficult to do, and he really hasn't looked back since. Ilia Topuria. Are you confident? Is this a guy that you think can absolutely dethrone him? Or is it just another one of those, hey man, UFC has to play the narrative. You got to get the guy that is going to at least make fans put their butts in the seats. Tune in, sell a pay-per-view. What do you think?
Derek, great question to open up the show, man. I'm banking on the narrative right here, but I do think this is the moment for Ilia Topuria to make his mark if he can.
If he's going to do it, now is the time to do it. He's taking pictures with the belt. He's already making moves to say, I'm already the champion. I don't know what we're talking about. It's just a piece of hardware that they're going to give me. We're going to break it all down, though, folks. So let's not mince any words. Let's just give you the friendly reminder to take a look down at the scoreboard below. You will notice 13-7. The first clear shift that I guess you could say in terms of like a scoreboard consensus right here. 10-10 from my man AJ. Listen, folks, it's February. This contest is going all the way till December. There is no celebrating right now, but it is one thing to say that at the end of the day, we win, you win. We're going to give you our best money line picks, a couple parlays that you could play around with, and most importantly, we got some prop locks to get it all taken care of. So, AJ, you know the vibe. Let's jump into the TLDR. I love the big screen. We're bringing up the big screen. And let's just bring in these picks, brother. All right, UFC 298 bet sheet right here. And we have a lot of consensus picks, which we're going to talk about on the next slide. But folks, if you're looking to take your screenshot, run to your sports book, now's the time to do it. Only one request, subscribe, right? But more importantly, tell a friend to tell a friend and thank us when you are done, when you win some money. Now, AJ, consensus picks. Here they are. Volkanovski, Whittaker, Garry, and Hernandez. You know what the vibes are. What is the theme for our UFC 298 Bloody Water Podcast consensus picks?
Derek, the theme this week is moments, man. Big moments. Whoever has more of those moments in the fight, that's who either the judges are going to give it to or it's going to be getting the finish. I think I'm going with moments, man.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair. And I'll say if I have to give my 2 cents on this, because I've been thinking about this a lot too. I was like, if we did have to give a theme, what is the theme, right? I think this is solidification. This is the stamp. This is the y'all must have forgot for everybody on this list. Ian Garry is going through the social media nonsense. Whittaker lost his last one. Volkanovski lost his last one. And Fluffy Hernandez just never gets the respect that he deserves. So this is stamping right here. And like I said, we got some more plays for you. Like these ones right here. All right, AJ, let's give a little context, right? We are coming off of some losses right here, but we've been doing pretty good to open up the year. My loss, I felt, was right there, man. I had the Jeremiah Wells decision. He loses a split. We'll chalk that one up. Let's just talk about it, man. AJ, you see Miranda Maverick, it's misspelled. Disregard all of that good stuff. Miranda Maverick, you like the money line. -185 for a lock right there. What makes you so confident?
Especially Miranda Maverick versus KGB. I love the money line for Fear the Maverick. Folks, it's minus money. Yeah, -185, but you put in $100, you're getting out 55-ish, 54-ish. Either way, you're making cash on Miranda Maverick. She's solid. She gets it done very much all the time and can do it in a multitude of ways. I love this money line odd.
There you go. I got Robert Whittaker, 7-3 in his last 10. I'm looking for a decision against Paulo Costa at +150. I say if you're betting Whittaker, I have a hard time seeing him knock out Paulo Costa. Could happen, right? But with that being said, you're going from minus money to plus money just by banking on that decision. So give me Whittaker. Those are your prop locks, folks, and we're going to break it all down here in this main card breakdown. So without any further ado, subscribe. We got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. Let's get it, AJ.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
All right, so we're going to break down all of these main card scraps from the first bout, the main event championship, all the way down to the opening bout. Let's get into it. Alexander Volkanovski faces, what some deem to be his toughest test to date, Ilia Topuria. Kind of hard to imagine that when you got the Islam Makhachev, the Yair Rodriguez, Max Holloway, Korean Zombie, Brian Ortega. The list goes on, right? But he does have a real threat in front of him. Listen, 14-0, Ilia Topuria, man, boxing is off the hook. Dude has some incredible grappling. But I think the thing that is going to make this so much different from all the other opponents, I don't think that Volkanovski has ever faced an opponent this confident. And I think it's an intangible, but I think it's important. How much does his confidence play into this before we jump into the betting lines?
Oh, huge, Derick, huge. If you can go in there feeling like the man, everybody else, you walk in a room, they all know you're the man too. Confidence is huge going into this one, but I do got to push back a little. But you're telling me Blessed Express wasn't confident going in there first 1 and 2 fights? I don't know, but I do think Ilia Topuria can bring that vibe to this fight right here.
You see, the difference is the Blessed Express will say, we'll find out Saturday night. Topuria is like, I'm already the champion, bro. What are we talking about? Just give me the belt. You were a great champion, Volkanovski, but my time is now. Like, when you have that type of talk and you have not quite backed it up, given that the toughest opponent that he's fought to date is Josh Emmett, a couple of bells go off to me. So let's talk about these betting lines, man. So we have it at -115, Volkanovski, plus 105 comeback for Ilia Topuria. If I'm taking a look at the live odds right now, AJ, Volkanovski has swelled just slightly, -130, plus 110 comeback for Topuria. So it went from a pick'em to a slight lean to Volkanovski, which I think he's done more than enough in his career to earn that. Now, let's talk about the X's and O's behind this, right? Volkanovski is a mixed martial artist through and through. Ilia Topuria is very much the same, but with a heavy emphasis on his boxing and then grappling, right? So if Volkanovski has faced an opponent like Topuria before outside of the grappling aspect, would you not say it was one of the most high-level guys to do it in Max Holloway? Is this not a kind of similar matchup?
Oh, absolutely. Like you said, with a little more grappling thrown in Topuria, and I think he's going to have to depend on it right here. But yeah, that's a great analogy.
So with that being said, what was the number one tool that Volkanovski used to shut down Holloway? It was the calf kick, right? And I think we're going to see a lot of that calf kick here against Topuria, who more or less is saying, I got nothing to fear, right? Volkanovski's going to try to push me up against the cage, clinch me up, and it's nothing new, you know what I mean? I have too much power. He has no finishing power. And I agree with the fact that Topuria, it's going to sound like a stretch, but I think it's true, very Conor McGregor-esque. The way that he will not force himself to go first. He'll force you to go first and then very calmly and efficiently deliver fantastic counterpunches off of a shoulder roll, a slip, things of that nature. Volkanovski, though, man, he's not Josh Emmett. He's not swinging one big shot at a time. Volkanovski very composed, not willing to just sit in the pocket. Now, if this is a fight where Volkanovski's not trading in the pocket with Topuria, let him get the big shots off and turns it into a real game that they have to play over the course of 5 rounds, how much do you like those plus 110 odds for Ilia Topuria? Do you think that's enough juice to be able to back an underdog?
The juice is there, Derick, but the thing that worries me with this is Volkanovski's very good at controlling the octagon and very good at controlling where the fight takes place. And I don't really see Ilia Topuria doing the things necessary to switch the positions or escape, man. Volkanovski's really great at that. The one thing, though, you mentioned it right before, the counter shots. The counter shots of Ilia Topuria and that left hook, beautiful left hook he has. He can find that one. It's the same side that Islam Makhachev was able to exploit on Volkanovski. There's holes there to be exploited, and I think Ilia Topuria, with that kind of style he has, is able to get that done.
So you think that he would be able to get that done? You think that the striking is crisp enough to be able to catch Volkanovski?
Oh, yeah, catch him on a counter, yes, but control the fight and break down everything Volkanovski's doing. I think he's going to need a little more tools than just a left hook.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's kind of the point that I'm making right here. So let's jump a little bit deeper into the numbers. 3.5 rounds. That's the over and under. -130 for the over, plus 100 for the under. This is a fight right here, personally, where I think if Topuria is going to do it, he's going to get it done early-ish. I think under 3.5 rounds if Topuria is going to do it. Rounds 4 and 5, I just find it hard to see him dragging Volkanovski into the deep water where it's like he can't survive, and Topuria is going to have the upper hand, have the cardio advantage, and all that good stuff. So what do you like about plus 100 under for 3.5 rounds?
Oh, I love it, especially if you're an Ilia Topuria better right here, man. And even Volkanovski, he does. Ilia might have said that Volkanovski doesn't have the finishing power, but we've seen it get done multitude of times. Yair Rodriguez, Chan Sung Jung, like there's finishes that can happen, especially with the multitude of strikes that Volkanovski lays down. But if you're Ilia Topuria better, man, first round one, round two, get him going early, put Volkanovski on his back, kind of get him in that same thought process that he had in the Makhachev fight. I think that's the best look. I don't see it happening any other way for Topuria, though.
So my question right here is, if we're looking at these numbers and we're diving into like the props for an example, right? Topuria plus 300 is his TKO prop, plus 400 for the decision prop, and then plus 525 for the submission prop right there. If you're going to be in that camp, like I said, I stick with the TKO. I think that that's it. But here at the Bloody Water Podcast, our consensus pick is Volkanovski. So with that being said, I really think plus 235 for the decision prop right there is a very, very cheap price to pay for, if you look at the last 10, right? You mentioned he had a couple of finishes. Korean Zombie, Yair Rodriguez, Chad Mendez as well. That's in the last 10 fights. Everything else has been a decision, man. So I think if we're looking at history and we're looking at what Volkanovski is doing with an opponent like Topuria, who is very dangerous, I think it's going to be a slow start. I don't think that they're going to get off too quick. And I really, really think that there's something that needs to be put in that plus 235 decision prop, or just hammer the over. So if you're not betting on Volkanovski, did you say those are like locks right there that we need to hit on?
If you're not betting Volkanovski?
No. If you're not like betting one person in particular, you know what I mean? But you're like, all right, let's look at the trend right here. There's a lot of juice to be had on the over 3.5 rounds or on a decision prop for Volk.
Oh, absolutely, Derek. Folks, if you're not specifically locked into one fight or the other, I do think the over is going to be had, or over is the most likely shot to take, especially being, like Derek was saying, with the amount of fights that Volkanovski has and the chin, he can get it done. Sure, he took a knockout in his last one, but I think that's more likely.
That's it. And that was a setup off of a head kick, which we know Topuria doesn't throw a ton of. He's primarily a boxer. So numbers aside, clearly we like Volk. We see a lot of juice here in this matchup. And I think that the best plays right here are the decision proper hammer, that money line right there, minus 130. Very cheap price to pay for Volkanovski, who historically dominates his opposition. Now, let's just give the last couple closing out words right here on this matchup, man. Are you concerned? Like, legitimately, let's take the numbers out of this conversation. Just you going into Saturday night. Are you like 90% confident Volkanovski walks away with this? Do you think Topuria is the biggest threat? Or do you think that this is just the UFC narrative that we talk about time and time again?
We talked about it time and time again, Derek, and I do think the narrative machine is working, but I wouldn't go as far as to say 90% Volk. I'm sitting right around that 80%, 75, somewhere around there, just because, like I said, man, that check left hook, if Volkanovski gets a little pressured or out of his element, it can happen.
I'm going to go out on a limb, folks. Listen, my opinion right here is that Ilia Topuria will have his moments. He might even hurt Volkanovski, but I think that this is going to be a 3-2 situation Volk or a 4-1 situation Volk. I think that he's going to definitely make his mark felt right here and put a y'all must have forgot moment on the table right here. That's what you get when you have a generational champion like Volkanovski. I don't believe that 35 years old, now he's over the hill and it's too old. Yeah, he's coming off of a knockout, but let's look at the context. Short notice, Islam Makhachev, dealing with the grappler, you get head kicked, stuff like that. So with that being said, that was your main event, UFC 298. Alexander Volkanovski. That's the Bloody Water Podcast consensus pick. Let's keep it pushing right on along, AJ, to the co-main. The Reaper, Robert Whittaker versus the secret juice man, Paulo Costa right here. This is an interesting matchup, AJ, just because if you look at numbers, this is one that concerns me, just because we haven't seen a lot of Paulo Costa. You know what I mean? Let's take a look at the last fight. Luke Rockhold, right? That was back in 2022. August 2022, bro. It's been a minute. Where's Costa been? This matchup has been scheduled to take place like 3 times. So I think this is like the 3rd time now. Finally, we're going to make it. And AJ, I was a little worried because I was on my William Hill app, right? Trying to place a couple of wagers and all that good stuff. And I saw all the different bets. And you know what bet wasn't there? Whittaker versus Costa. So I was like, oh my God, something happened on the low, right? Luckily, it's there now. You can bet on it now. And that's why we got some juice for you guys. So let's talk about it. The former middleweight champion, Whittaker, Paulo Costa, wide open middleweight division right here. This has some stakes, like real legitimate stakes right here. So with the pressure of that going into it, what do we think about Robert Whittaker? Minus 210 favorite, coming off of a pretty nasty loss against Dricus du Plessis, the current champion, but one that didn't look like the Robert Whittaker that we're accustomed to seeing. You know, what do you think about these numbers right here?
I actually like it. I mean, it makes a lot of sense with the repertoire that Robert Whittaker brings. Minus 210 makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah, he gets a lot done, but yeah, he had the knockout loss and in very devastating fashion. But like you said, Derek, he didn't look like the Bobby Knuckles we knew in the past, right? Yeah, he's always been that calm, cool, collected fighter, but has that blitz going for him. And I think right there, that's what's going to be the key to this victory. If Robert Whittaker is able to get Paulo Costa, draw him in a little bit, get him to play the game, and then blitz on his ass and really start putting some knuckles to him, that's what I think he's going to see. And that's why I think the odds makers right here at minus 210 see Bobby Knuckles as the favorite. Do you see a lot of juice, though, Derek, coming out of that plus 175 corner for Costa?
You know, I don't know, man. Like it's one of those where I look at it and I'm like, I almost feel like Whittaker should be a larger favorite just based off of their fight styles, right? Costa is a hammer. He's a fantastic hammer, not a fantastic nail, but a very, very good hammer, very durable, very tough, and is willing to walk forward and dictate where the fight takes place, right? But Whittaker, as you just mentioned, man, with that blitzy karate style, he's not really just going to hang out in the pocket. That's not a style that we see for Robert Whittaker. So it makes me wonder how much swinging and missing is going to be taking place for Paulo Costa. Or if he does land, is Robert Whittaker slightly compromised because when he got hurt from Dricus du Plessis, I believe it was a jab that hurt him. So is he compromised? Is this a matter of Costa just lands that shot and things start getting interesting? Where does the ground game take place in here? We know Whittaker can wrestle and we know Costa can grapple. Do we see some of that? Do you see Whittaker shooting a takedown on Costa to say, I'm not here to play your game, we're going to really mix it up?
I don't, Derek. Actually, if anybody's going to be shooting in my mind, it's going to be Costa, especially once the pressure gets put on him, starts breathing hard. We've seen him struggle with gas tank issues in the past. I think Costa's going to be the one looking to take this fight, but I'm glad you brought up the knockout, the knockout potential that Costa has, because at plus 300 money for a knockout, I think that's the way, if Paulo Costa wants to win this fight, his biggest chance to get it done.
So how do you feel that Whittaker, on the other hand, is saying, I'm looking to spark him. I'm looking to get him out of there, right? It's not what you would really envision, per se, and you would hope that he wouldn't play that game. But if he feeds into the let's sit in the pocket and trade, I mean, Costa at plus money with plus 300 for the TKO, is that something that even if you're a heavy Whittaker bettor that you still hedge $5-10 and say, I'm just going to throw it on there and let's see what happens?
Oh, absolutely. Throw 50 on it if you're really feeling like it, because Paulo Costa can get it done. We've seen I like the nickname you used earlier, the secret juice man. We've seen him be able to hurt people in situations. The question is, can he actually get into that position to get it done? That's where the big question comes into play, because I really like that if you're a Paulo Costa bettor, I really like that odd for him, and plus 300 for a knockout. He can get this done, especially if Robert Whittaker is compromised.
Now, I'm going to take a step back here because I love talking about the full picture, right, of the matchup right here, the favorite, the underdog. But I'm just going to say we need to do track record reports sometimes. And we need to just remember Paulo Costa, very popular name, very big staple of what the UFC is. A lot of people know Paulo Costa. Oh, yeah, super buff. Both these dudes look like GQ models and all that good stuff, right? But this is what's important. What's Paulo Costa's biggest win to date right now? If you look in his last 10, his biggest win arguably would either be Luke Rockhold, an over-the-hill Luke Rockhold, or Yoel Romero, right? I can't name another name that is like really notable that makes sense. Johnny Hendricks? I mean, brother, is this 2010? Like, what are we talking about, right? So outside of that, if you look at his two losses, it's to Israel Adesanya and it's to Marvin Vettori, two dudes who know how to play the game very well. I would say Whittaker has always been in that same camp of a guy who could play the game. So I'm going to take another leap of faith right here and another leap just to simply say, you smash this money line for Robert Whittaker right here if you're not down to take my prop, which on open was plus 130. When I got it, plus 150. Can't tell you what it's at right now, but I could tell you, run to your sports book and go find out. But I say you smash those right here, because if he can avoid getting stiffed, I think he plays the game, and I think he gets the victory against Paulo Costa, who is durable, who will be a little tougher to get out of there, in my opinion, than most. What do you think about that?
Absolutely, folks. Distance management, time, range. Robert Whittaker has all the necessary weapons in his tool belt to be able to nullify the attack of Paulo Costa. And we're going to see, I expect we're going to see a lot of misses, a lot of big swings, and a lot of big breaths coming out of the Costa camp. Smash that prop lock if you're betting with Derick, or like you said, the money line's good too. This one's going to be a really fun fight, a very calculated fight that I'm very excited for.
That's right. And the last thing that I will say is the only thing you got to take into consideration that's a little bit different. This is a 3-round fight. So whoever goes, you got to go. That is the entire point. If you're going to go quick. quick and make your impact felt. So with that being said, that is the Bloody Water Podcast consensus pick right here. Robert Whittaker with the victory. Moving right on along. Grudge match. AJ, it's not often we get these WWE-esque matchups right here, but this is a rebooking. Hands of Steel, Jeff Neal versus Ian Machado Garry. Now, I'm really interested in this matchup, not just because if you look at Ian Garry having to pull out of his last fight and all that good stuff, dude's on a run. Like him, hate him, disregard the social media stuff. The dude is on a run. He's a prospect looking to be a legitimate contender. I mean, he's ranked number 10 in the world, so legitimately we should be considering him a pure contender at this point. But with all the social media hate that he gets, I think people disregard his actual skills. Now, before we jump into the numbers here, AJ, I was having not a debate, but just like a conversation with some of my jiu-jitsu buddies. And one question is, Ian Garry, right? This dude travels all around the world. Notably, in the embedded, he was at the Shoot the Box camp in Brazil, training Muay Thai with Charles Oliveira and them, training some jiu-jitsu and all that stuff, right? He is a proponent of, I'm going to travel all around the world. I'm going to get the best looks from all the best camps because that way I will literally be getting a compilation of all of the best information that you can get. You can't go wrong with that, right? And my buddy was saying, yeah, that's really cool, man. But if you don't have a home, right? If you don't really have like a home base, it's going to be really difficult to actually hone your craft because every gym that you go into, you're fighting for your life. You're trying to prove a point. You're trying to, you know what I mean? It's not your staple of buddies who you're like, all right, these are my training partners. They know the limits and all that good stuff. I want your take on that right there. Do you think that this is a hindrance in Ian Garry's career, or do you think that this is going to be something that could be the next wave of MMA training, right? The next generation of you need to get the most advanced looks from all of the best camps in the entire world. That's what's going to make you a better performer. What do you think?
It's a very interesting question, Derick, especially taking two schools of thought to it. Because, obviously personal trainer, coach side in me, you got to have that home because every single time you go to a new gym, people are going to be placing other expectations or bad habits on you or trying to fix something that doesn't need to be fixed. Your coach knows you the best. They can see things that you can't see and they can break them down and work out those tendencies. And that's why it's so good to have a home. But at the same time, if you're in a small gym in some, podunk town in Kentucky, you can't get the same kind of quality training or quality sparring matches or styles of fights that you can in all the big gyms. And if you bounce around, you're seeing a multitude of different looks. How does that not prepare you to be one of the best fighters? Because you're seeing it all around the world, different styles, different time zones, all kinds of different looks right there. So that's a really good question, Derick. I mean, from an outside perspective, I think it'd probably be better to be in a big gym, but stay in that one gym. So that way, if other people are traveling and you can have it. I guess that's the best of both worlds. Kind of a shit answer. What do you think, Derick? If you have to travel or you had to stick to one, what would you do?
You know what? This is definitely a school of thought type of conversation. My opinion is always going to be try to find yourself in a populous area with a big camp that has a lot of really talented fighters. Only problem is then you might not get the special treatment. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, right? But you do want individual work. You can't be at the big gym where you're just an afterthought, right? You want to develop your game and do all that stuff. But I really do like the school of thought that Ian Garry does take because, bro, you have your training camp with Charles Oliveira and Shoot the Box, right? Or you're over at Kill Cliff. I think he got kicked out of Kill Cliff, but you're over at Kill Cliff with all the killers over there. You know what I mean? It's like you're going to these different places. I love it. And I think it's going to be interesting to see that contrast of style against a Jeff Neal, who is very fundamentally a boxer, right? He's a kickboxer, but fundamentally a boxer. They call him Hands of Steel for a reason because he could walk you down and it only takes one to really turn the tide of the fight. Now, minus 225 open for Ian Garry, and we're looking at the live odds right now. Minus 240, swell just a little bit, plus 195 comeback for Jeff Neal. We might fall into one of these things before, man. I've done it before. So when Vicente Luque and Jeff Neal fought, Jeff Neal was an afterthought, right? And then I bet on Jeff Neal because I said, you can't just sleep on this guy. He has too much power. He'll be able to get the job done, and he won the fight, right? The difference is Ian Garry, I think, just has too many styles, right? He's not the style bender. But I think my man literally has too many options, from oblique kicks to side kicks, get off me, to a karate style, to pure boxing, to taekwondo. I think he does it all, mixes it up very well, and it's going to make it really hard for Jeff Neal to headhunt or to land the impactful body shots to be able to get him out of there. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Especially with the way Ian Garry's able to control range. Like you said, those side kicks, oblique kicks, so even the long jabs, the things he does and the foot movement he has, like probably from traveling around the world and seeing everybody else do those kind of things, makes him a very interesting target to hit. you know, because he's going to be bringing the pressure. Gary's going to be bringing the pressure at you. He's not just going to be dancing on his bike. He's actually going to be putting the fight to you. And that's where Geoff Neal can really come in, get inside, do some damage. Like you said, big power in the hands. But the question is, can he actually land it? Can he get into that situation? Because I don't see Ian Garry sitting there toe-to-toe in the pocket. I see him throwing a couple strikes and then bouncing out, just like we've seen in the past. He'd be able to, once he does control the fight, and once he really does have you hurt, then he'll go in and do some real damage, maybe even takes to the ground, does all that stuff. Like you said, Derick, I just think Ian Garry has too many tools in the tool belt to actually have a moment where he is open for Geoff Neal to really come in and do a lot of damage.
Yeah, so like with that being said, Geoff Neal, I mean, he can still get the job done, but we're just thinking comprehensively in this matchup, Ian Garry might just be a little bit too much, right? So let's kind of talk a little bit deeper in these numbers. If you're looking at Ian Garry and you're looking at all the props, plus 315 TKO, plus 700 submission, plus 150 for the decision, I really think that the decision is going to be a really worthwhile bet that you could take on right here, given, look at the last 10. Geoff Neal has never lost via knockout, really any other finish other than getting choked out by Shavkat Rakhmonov. So, given the durability of a Geoff Neal right here, do you take anything? Do you take the money line on Ian Garry, play it safe, and just see what happens? Or do you say, no, I got to smash that decision prop?
Ooh, that's an interesting question, Derick, because I right now I'm thinking, man, you take that money line. Yeah, it's a minus 225. There. Ian Garry has so many tools. We were just talking about that. Could he get this fight done? Arguably, he's a higher talent than Shavkat. I mean, that's to be seen once these two actually square up and face off. I like that money line, plus 150. But if I'm throwing some cash on this one, I think I'm taking, or the decision, excuse me. If I'm throwing some cash on this one, I'm taking that money line at minus 225.
And I'm not sure, man. If you look at some of the embeddeds, you're seeing Ian Garry work a lot of jiu-jitsu and all that stuff. I'm not sure if he's anticipating a takedown from Geoff Neal. I don't know what exactly is going to go into it, given that there is history. There is a little bit of a grudge going, right? There's the smack talk going back and forth. So if you're a Geoff Neal bettor, one thing that you do got to take into consideration, very, very good octagon control, ability to push you up against the cage and land the big shot, hit you with the big counter. And I think Ian Garry's biggest problem is you cannot have too much bravado in this matchup. You cannot get overconfident against a Geoff Neal. Last guy in the world you want to get overconfident against because he will catch you. But I do think comprehensively Ian Garry is the right play right here. And the only other question that we need to answer, we need to address, is the over and under. 2.5 rounds is the over and under, minus 130 for the over, plus 100 for the under. What do you like there?
That's interesting. No, I actually kind of like the under on this one, Derick. I mean, with the grudge match going in, with this being a 3-round fight, I think these boys are going to start fast, start furious, and really get to the action.
Yeah, I heard that. Ian Garry, a lot of finishes in his last 10, a lot of first-round knockouts, second-round knockouts, even a third-round knockout. I have a hard time thinking he finishes Geoff Neal, how tenured and how veteran that man is. So give me Ian Garry, give me that decision at plus 150. I feel like I'm confident on that play. Any last words on this one?
Derick's taking the decision plus 150. I'm actually going to be a bold move right here. Two submission losses in a row for Geoff Neal. Give me that plus 700 submission.
All right. And one submission loss in a row for Geoff Neal, but he's going to make it two right here. Is that what you're saying? Ian Garry's going to make it the second? All right. Oh, bold prediction from my man AJ. But listen, that's what we do here on the Bloody Water Podcast, folks. So let's move it right on along AJ, how does this get stuffed so deep on the main card? But you gotta love it. It's because they're bantamweights. It only makes sense. 135 pounds. Merab Dvalishvili finally gets his opportunity to take the next step, right? Oftentimes, honestly, 9-fight win streak right here. This is a dude who should have already fought for the title, but because Aljo was the title holder, he said, I'll put my career basically on pause and just fight everybody else, clean out the division. Well, he gets the opportunity against Henry Cejudo to not only solidify himself in MMA history by beating Triple C, right? The gold Olympic medalist, the double champ, all that good stuff. But more importantly, this is a setup for a title opportunity right here. And that's what kind of sucks because Cejudo just fought for the title pretty much, right? And now he gets another shot if he wins this. I don't know. We'll talk about it. But listen, how do these two match up, man? Merab, minus 195 favorite at open, plus 165 comeback for Cejudo. We look at the live numbers. Minus 225 for Merab, plus 185 for the triple cringe. AJ, I see your face. And I think that you got something to say. I think that you see some value here on the triple cringe, Henry Cejudo, the Olympic gold medalist wrestler. Talk to me, brother. What do you got?
I do see some value right here, Derek, especially because if you think about the way Merab's going to try to get this fight done, right? He's going to be pressuring, going to be trying to control it the entire time, going to look to do some damage, but probably just really look to push Henry Cejudo around. Well, who's one of the best people to use that momentum against? He was one of the best wrestlers in this division. Yeah, he might have left and then came back. It might be cringy as ever, but Henry Cejudo can be that guy to get that job done. I mean, we saw him hold down Aljo in their fight. Yeah, did Aljo win? I think so. And, he won on the paper, so it all makes sense. But with this going into this fight, I just don't see the way at which Merab Dvalishvili really goes in there and just completely turns the tables on Cejudo. I think Cejudo's seen so much, so many times, and especially now when he's coaching at his own gym, he's going to be able to see what's going on and act accordingly. I think this is a really interesting fight, and that's kind of a little bit mind-blowing to me. That's why I made the face as the lead keeps growing, or the favoritism keeps growing in the odds makers' eyes for Dvalishvili.
We got to think about this. Cejudo already retired, came back, lost. Is already saying, if I win this fight, it's all for the gold. If I lose, I will retire again. You're 1 foot out, 1 foot in type situation. And I think that it's fair to, if you're betting with your pocketbook, to say, I don't feel super confident on somebody who's not fully in here, win or loss, right? So I think that's kind of playing into it. But more important, Merab, man, how is he going to get the job done if he does get the job done? I don't think it's technical proficiency. I think Henry Cejudo is a way more technical, way a better wrestler of the entire 9. But this is a mixed martial arts fight. And I think that Merab knows how to weaponize his cardio in such a way to where he can be durable, he could take some of your best shots, and he could just constantly put it on you and not allow you to establish your rhythm. And once Henry Cejudo gets into a rhythm, once he finds his reads, that's when he's the most dangerous. So AJ, let me ask you this. Merab notoriously likes to go in on his single leg entries, might switch it to a double, and if he doesn't switch it to a double, he'll open up a clinch opportunity, get in a couple rabbit punches, kick it back on out the distance, and then rinse, wash, repeat, bro, for 15 minutes, 25 minutes, doesn't matter how many minutes that it needs to take place. Henry Cejudo says he knows how Merab fights and he understands that that's the game plan and he has something for it. How can Henry Cejudo be successful if he's on the back foot for the entire fight? Can he be successful on the back foot for 15 minutes?
That's a good question, Derek. I think Henry Cejudo can be successful if he's fighting on the back foot, especially if he's able just to keep Merab chasing him around the ring. Cut angles. See Merab's going to come in, like you said. He shoots for the single leg. You bend knee, kick out. Whatever ability Henry Cejudo has to get it done, he's going to be implementing it. And I think it's going to come down to movement, timing, and just avoiding the chaos and letting Merab just really dump everything he has into the fight, especially because it's only a 3-round fight. So these boys are going to be getting after it very, very quick. I don't really see a gas tank issue coming into play. I'm really curious how Henry Cejudo, Triple Cringe, is going to be able to stop the nonstop pressure that Merab's going to be having. I'm excited to see what he has for him because other than that, Derek, other than skating off to the side, I don't really see any other option.
Well, that's the thing. When he fought Aljo, man, he wasn't on the front foot the entire time. Aljo forced him on the back foot. That's when Aljo had the most success. Now, when did Henry have the most success? When he turned the tides and when he was able to put Aljo on the back foot. Now, we've seen Merab fight off of the back foot. It's not like it's a new thing. Petr Yan had him on the back foot quite a lot in their matchup. But the only difference is, so Petr Yan had the ability to say, I'm a really dangerous striker, and I could put it on you in a plethora of ways on the feet. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to play it safe, play it at distance, get in, and then get out. Henry Cejudo, while he is a dangerous striker, I mean, he's not, you know what I mean? We're not looking at Henry and be like, oh my God, bro, most nasty kickboxer in the world. He's a wrestler, right? So when the wrestling mitigates each other and Merab isn't even trying to take you down, he is going to get an attempt to close the distance, to open up offensive opportunities. You have to just imagine it becomes a volume thing. So if this becomes a volume thing, we see the number, -125 is the decision prop for Merab Dvalishvili. I do not see value there. That is not a bet that I would take, given that this could still be a very close matchup. If there's any juice to be had here, I think it's 100% on Henry Cejudo's side because he could play a massive spoiler and people could win a lot of money on this one. So to preface, again, folks, I am backing Merab right here. I just think that the odds makers are a little disrespectful to Henry Cejudo, given that he has every opportunity to win this fight. If he does, AJ, what prop or what bet in general is going to maximize the amount of return that you can get for Henry Cejudo?
I think the one prop that's going to be the most likely and as well as maximize the most profit for you folks, going to be that plus 275 decision prop for Henry Cejudo, because both these guys have all the tank in the world, all the pressure, and as well as the ability to make it last that long and get down and dirty in these fights. I like that. And if you're not taking that, money line is also really good. I like the decision though.
That's right. And if you're looking at the over and under, man, 2.5 rounds, I'm sure you can imagine the over is heavy, minus 300 for the over, plus 240 for the under. And the only way that I could see that not be a self-fulfilling prophecy for the decision, Merab does have a lot of reckless entries. And I think Henry Cejudo has very well-timed knees, very well-timed hooks, things that are those straight line stoppers that you talk about a lot, AJ. Give them something to think about. Give them a knee, give them an elbow, give them a uppercut, give them something to say, if you close this distance, the price of admission is going to be too high. You're not going to want to continuously do that. But the problem is, Merab, when's the last time the man's been knocked out? I can't tell you, right? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Merab is a very, very dangerous man, 16-4 in his career, 9-1 in his last 10. And the fight that he lost, arguably, you know what I mean? That Ricky Simone submission, that was kind of not a submission, but he was kind of out on his feet. I don't know. The point is right here, I think Merab gets it done. You're backing Henry Cejudo in this one, but the most important victory that we could have across the board right here, folks, I think that if you throw this parlay, this minus 300 over 2.5 rounds into a parlay, you might be able to get some juice out of that one, depending on how you string it together. AJ, you got anything else on this one?
Oh man, I really like that play for the parlay. I see the over being very successful in this one. Let's see how it goes.
All right, and then to open us up, Fluffy Hernandez, Roman Kopylov. Now, this was supposed to be a much different matchup right here, right? Always short notice stuff that's getting kind of thrown together. I think it was Ikram Alishkab, or, you know, I might have jacked up that name. But the point is, right, Hernandez originally was slated to fight a wrestler, and now you get a dangerous striker in Roman Kopylov, a man who was on a run of runs, 4-fight win streak, all finishes in those 4 fights, and then if you want to look at the wins prior to that, they were all finishes too, man. Like, this dude is super dangerous. I'm a big fan of Roman Kopylov, but this is a time where the paths cross, and again, I just don't think Anthony Hernandez gets the respect due. So when we're looking at a dude who I think is going to be very successful in this matchup, depending on the game plan he utilizes, opened at a minus 185 favorite. Right now, AJ, it's like you had to get the bet in early because he's now swollen to a minus 245 favorite. Like, it's pretty massive. Plus 200 comeback for Kopylov. A lot of people are saying Kopylov goes in and he smashes Anthony Hernandez. This dude doesn't have any striking. He's going to hit him with the big straight shots. He's going to back out, hit him with the head kick, and he's going to get it done. But my question is, AJ, what happens when Anthony Hernandez takes your best shot and then gets to the legs, and now it's going to be a long rest of the round right there, man? What happens then? If Kopylov goes down, can he get back to his feet?
I don't think so, Derek. I don't think so. And you asked what happens when Fluffy Hernandez can take your shot, laugh at you. Well, we saw it in the Edmund Shabazian fight. And right there, man, I mean, just the face that Fluffy Hernandez, the comfortability he was able to have in that kind of battle. Yeah, I mean, arguably, Roman Kopylov is more of a technical or has a little bit more flash to him in the striking. So that right there, this is what's so interesting, because both these guys can get it done standing on the ground, whatever the case is. But I think Fluffy Hernandez is just too big of a step right now for Kopylov. Can it happen here, a couple months, couple years? I think that would have been a better time frame. But right now, this is a massive shot for Kopylov. Do you think it's too big, too much of a jump, Derek?
That's the thing. Stylistically, I just think it's a bad matchup more than anything else. I think Kopylov is super ready to take on some of the best that they have to offer, and he should be fighting everybody that is from 15 to like 25. I think that's a very fair range for him to be fighting in the UFC right now. But I think Anthony Hernandez is a 15 who fights at a much higher clip than 15 in the world. And he doesn't talk a lot. There's not a lot of hype behind him. It's just a dude who ends up ragdolling a lot of these people. And if you look at the last losses in his career, it was Marcus Perez, who is a very eccentric fighter right there, and Kevin Holland, right? So a TKO loss to Kevin Holland early, and then Anaconda choked by Marcus Perez. He had that fight against Jordan Wright and ended up being a no contest. But the point is, man, look at the streak he's on with the 4-fight win streak, right? Rodolfo Vieira submits the black belt Hunter. Like, come on, bro. Josh Frem decisions him. Marc-Andre Barriault submissions him. And then, Edmund Shabazian, TKO. That's a run. You got to respect it. But real quick, AJ, we're going to bring up the big screen because I want to assess numbers. Left side, Fluffy Hernandez. Right side, Roman Kopylov. This is really the main thing that I wanted to take a look at. Takedown average per 15 minutes, man. Almost fucking 7 takedowns per fight. Lots of takedowns. He's going to keep putting it on you. Cardio, weaponize it, right? 57% clip. 57% wouldn't be high. It wouldn't be impressive if it was like, oh yeah, 3 takedowns a fight, 2 takedowns a fight, right? 7, and you're hitting on over 50% of them. Like, okay. But then you look at Roman Kopylov, takedown defense, 92%. So we have to go and jump into the numbers just a little bit more. When you look at Roman Kopylov and you look at the amount of times that he's been taken down, hasn't been a lot. But if you look at the times that he has been taken down, what is the result led to? Albert Duraev, right? When he put it on him, it was ugly. Got him out of there with the decision. Got submitted by Carl Roberson. Remember the times where I'd be like, Carl Roberson can grapple, bro. This dude, you got to get him out. Yeah, this is what happens, right? So everybody else that he's fought since then. Josh Fremd, grappler, right? That's fair. Claudio Ribeiro can grapple, but wants to take your head off. Puna can grapple, but wants to take your head off. And then Alicio Di Chirico, who, again, can grapple, but wants to take your head off. Now you got the legit deal, man. You got the dude who wants to grapple. The dude who's going to try to sit there, might play the game with you just a little bit, but he's just ultimately going to say same game plan for everybody across the board, man. Gas you out and then fucking whoop that ass, man. So don't want to be overconfident on Fluffy Hernandez. I really like the play. I liked it much more at open than I do here at close with the, minus 250 or whatever, 245. But if there's something to like here, would it be one of these props? Would you throw him into a parlay? What do you like?
Ooh, Derek, I mean, the plus 175 submission, there's a reason it's one of the lowest bets for Fluffy Hernandez going forward. I can also see the decision happening, but man, yeah, no, stay away from the money line all day. I like the submission prop, but more than likely, Derek, I'm with you. Throw this one in a parlay, over, under, however you want to get it done. Even if there's some, like you like one of the fighters, whatever the case is. I'm not with the money line, just like Derek said. If I had to choose one, I'm going submission plus 175.
Hardest for me to call. Over and under, 1.5 rounds, over minus 155, plus 125 for the under. I have not been able to call it. I have not placed a bet on here. I could see it going super quick. I could also see this getting dragged out, thinking that Kopylov would be a little more tough than people would like to believe. What do you think, man? If you had to make a prediction right now, is this going over or under 1.5?
I think it's going over 1.5 by not by much, Derek. I'm saying round 2, 2.5, right in there.
Okay, right there. And then if he gets it done, you're thinking it's going to be some form of a finish, obviously, right? So TKO or submission. It's going to be an interesting one. For Roman Kopylov, though, this is the one thing that I don't want to just make it seem like we're just discounting him and we're overlooking him. He can absolutely finish the fight. It's just a matter of how long is Hernandez going to stick around on the feet and try to play that game before he starts initiating the grappling, right? What happens? He shoots in, catches a knee, catches a head kick. Kopylov will put you out. He'll put you out real quick. This is one of my prospects to watch right here. Soon we'll be in the top 15. Just not yet. Just not against Anthony Hernandez, especially not in a short notice bout where you don't got the full training camp behind it. That's my opinion right there. AJ, this is a Bloody Water Podcast consensus pick. You got anything else on this one?
Lock it in, folks. Lock it in. We're great on the consensus. This one's going to be a fun fight. There's a reason it's opening up the main card.
That's it. All right, folks. So that is your UFC 298 main card breakdown. We gave you props. We gave you the money lines. We gave you the hedges. We gave you just about everything that you could ask for. The next thing that we're going to jump into is, of course, going to be the most coveted section of this program. It is the unknowns of today, but the stars of tomorrow. It's going to be the sleepers. So as always, before we jump in there, AJ already knows what the deal is. You guys need to subscribe. This is an army, over 810 people strong. I think 813 subscribers before we started recording this episode. I would love to get that to 1,000 here very, very quickly. So I'm not going to say anything else. I know my man AJ likes to demand things every now and then. We're going to save that for the end. We're not going to give you the speech. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Let's talk about some sleepers, folks. Let's get it.
It's time for some fight night.
And if you ain't paying attention, you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up.
All right, folks, we got some really fun sleepers on deck here for you. AJ actually has a really fun sleeper. I think that we need to get into this one first. So let me just pop it up on the big screen. And AJ, you take on over from here, my friend. What do we got? What's your sleeper?
Ooh, this one's a fun one, folks. We got the Mountain Tiger versus the Gorilla. Man, it's Mingying Zhang versus Brendan Hibairo. This one's going to be a very fun one. Big prospects in the 205-pound class. You go look at what Derek's highlighting right now. All 10 of their last fights ended in finishes. Yeah, Ribeiro, he lost his last 2, but either way, this guy's going to be getting it done. Why I like this fight right here is power, pressure, and these guys have the hunger to be able to go in there. They need to make a move. They need to make a spot or a splash, if you will, in the light heavyweight division, and it's going to be fun. I really like both of these fighters. Zhang, man, he's very, very talented, but Ribeiro has that power to nullify it. This is going to be a very fun fight, folks. Do not blink. Make sure you tune into this one.
You got 2 prospects right here, not any UFC experience, and they got a ton of knockouts on the record. Listen, this has been very skillfully placed right here. This is a sleeper. You definitely need to tune in. All right, folks. And then as always, I got a sleeper for you right here. Josh Quinlan. This dude has already been in the UFC, has definitely made a splash. Interesting run so far, but he fights Danny Barlow right here. So if you just take a look right here, the reason why we picked him, Trey Waters, it was a decision. It was an ugly fight. I thought he was going to win the fight. Didn't happen. But everybody else, you're seeing lots of knockouts, lots of submissions. This dude, Danny Barlow, if you don't know, now you know. I'm letting you know right now. This dude is good. He's going to be really, really good. Tall, looks bigger than most of his opposition. Young, 28 years old. Lots of finishes on a 7-0 young record. But more importantly, this dude has a hit and not get hit style. Doesn't get touched a lot, right? In his Contender Series bout, he had a little trip fall, kind of drop type situation. Came back, finished his opponent right after. He's lightning quick. He's one of those, I would say, like an MVP style, right? Michael Venom Page, except just bigger, taller, longer, the whole entire nine. I don't know. I think this is going to be explosive fireworks right here because Josh Quinlan, Bushido is the nickname, left hand to God for Danny Barlow. I mean, listen, they're going to meet in the middle of the cage, and I think someone's going to go to sleep in this matchup. So this is why you need to tune in. Again, unknowns of today, stars of tomorrow. That's the premise behind this segment. That's what we just delivered for you, and that's what we got. So with that being said, AJ, now only one thing left to do, and it's to jump into the prelim pour over right there. So strategically placed once again. We're not just going to cover everything, but there's going to be a couple of matchups that we definitely need to talk about. And normally I would hand it on over to you, AJ, but we have a featured prelim that absolutely must be discussed. So let's talk about it. We have Amanda Lemos versus Mackenzie Dern, women's strawweight bout, number 3 versus number 7. And then I want to talk about the one right underneath it right after because we got some betting implications. But my question to you here, AJ, very simple question. Mackenzie Dern coming off of a loss, Amanda Lemos coming off of a loss, right? A lot of people think that Mackenzie Dern should be a massive favorite right here because Amanda Lemos notoriously does not fight fantastic if she's forced on her back foot, especially if her back is against the cage, because she likes that fade back, right hand, counter, knock her opponent stiff like she did to Montserrat Ruiz, right? The question is, we just saw Mackenzie Dern against Jessica Andrade. You can do only so much with the somewhat improved striking and fantastic jiu-jitsu if you can't get your opponent to the ground because you have no offensive wrestling. Do you think Mackenzie Dern is a dog that you, like a live dog, you need to smash that plus 114 that you see right there, or do you think Amanda Lemos is going to get her out of there?
Nah, Derek, I think Amanda Lemos is going to get her out of there. I was actually looking at these props very heavy before the show just because there's so many ways. You know, you think of Mackenzie Dern, like you said, the growing striking, the amazing jiu-jitsu, and she puts herself in places that she can do very, very well in. Amanda Lemos has a lot more to offer, in my opinion, man. This is going to be a very interesting fight for these ladies.
See, that's the problem, though, man. The way that Zhang Wei Li just kind of dismantles her in terms of some wrestling makes it seem that if Mackenzie Dern can get a takedown, the fight might be over at that point, man. So that's why, on one hand, I hear you, because I was looking at the TKO prop for Amanda Lemos, and it was juicy. And I was like, I like that. I think she can get her out of there, bro. Like, I really think that you should be placing some money there. But then at the same time, man, Mackenzie Dern, we know how skillful she is. The only thing that we have to just kind of take into consideration is that in the grand scheme of things, man, you have to be able to get your opponent to the ground. And if Lemos with that wide, strong Muay Thai base, you feel me, just like ready to just drop the big shot, I just think we might see Jessica Andrade versus Mackenzie Dern all over again. So with that being said, that's my thoughts on the matchup. You have any other thoughts on this featured prelim?
Man, I'm actually very excited for this fight because, well, Mackenzie Dern took it, like a month ago. I think it was Tatiana Suarez that fell out, but there's going to be multiple things. This might be the time Amanda Lemos really has a resurgence in the division.
And if she could win, she says, I want that Tatiana Suarez about rebooked. I want that, which is interesting because, again, now you have a legit grappler, a legit wrestler. I don't know. Amanda Lemos, though, she wants the smoke, so you got to respect that. All right, next bout, heavyweights. AJ, my question to you, Marcos Rogerio de Lima got his teeth smashed in by a Derek Lewis flying knee. Not good. He is chalk right here, minus 150 against Justin Tafa, the bad man. We know it. It only takes a couple of minutes for him to get the job done right here. This is one where I'll be transparent as ever right here. I bet on Justin Tafa. I said, give me Justin Tafa plus money against Rogerio de Lima, who just got his face smashed in by Derek Lewis. I understand de Lima can get the takedown, and he can make Tafa look silly if he plays his cards right. But I also know that if Tafa touches this man, Just a couple of them. That's all it takes. You look down the record, man. It's first round, second round, first round. Like it's very clear and definitive. Am I too high on the bad man, Justin Tafa, or do you think Rogerio de Lima is going to give y'all must have forgot? Hey, don't forget, I'm the ranked fighter. Yeah, it was a hiccup against Derek Lewis. I wasn't expecting a flying knee, but here we are. What do you think?
I don't think anybody's ever expecting the flying knee, Derek. There maybe some, but it's probably not when you're eating it to the mouth. No, when I saw plus money for Justin Tafa, man, I think it was plus 128 or whatever. It might be growing because, man, this guy, the bad man, is a bad man, and I think he's going to get it done early. Like you said, one shot is all it takes. Maybe a couple shots is all it takes. But what I like about this style right here, Rogerio de Lima, he's going to be trying to get into the danger zone. He's going to be getting there, and that's what's going to make this fight very fun. If you're just a fan of pure violence, this one's going to be great.
If you're a fan of heavyweights and knockouts, yes, absolutely. You should definitely tune in. All right, AJ, last couple of ones to round us out. Actually, this is going to be my opportunity since we have it very well timed, right? Top of the early prelims, bottom of the regular prelims. Folks, new segment here that we're doing. When we have them for you, I want to show it to you. So let me go ahead and let me pull it up. Actually, you got to kill some time for me, AJ, because I put it on the wrong screen. Kill a little bit of time for me. I'm going to put it up right now. 1 second, all right?
Folks, both of these fights right here that Derek has on the screen, they like you saw before, they're both are sleepers for a reason. So it's going to be bringing a lot of fun. But if you go do a deep dive, and maybe you don't even have to do the deep dive because we're about to do it for you, but there is money to be won on this fight, on these fights right here for whoever side you're picking. Let's see if Derek has it done. I mean, do I need to kill more time, brother?
No, that's it, brother. I got it. All right. This is your parlay watch right here, folks. I got it for you. This is going to be one that I've handpicked. I handpicked this one, and I said, you know what? I'm going to put my own money on it, so if I win, you win, we all win. This is going to be AJ's sleeper and my sleeper combined. So Zhang Mingyang, apologies. I sound like Chris Tucker right there. Zhang Mingyang versus Danny Barlow. Put those money lines together, you're going to get plus 183 odds. If we're taking a look at each one of them, Mingyang, I got him at minus 115, Barlow minus 195, together plus 183. You put $15 on that one, folks. Payout is $42.42. That's a $27.42 profit across the board right there. That is going to be my free parlay for you guys. So if you are interested, play it, tail it, the whole nine. If you're not, well, you're going to be sad when we win and you didn't bet. So that's just really all that I got on there. AJ, any thoughts on the parlay right there, or are you ready to move on to these last couple of prelim bouts?
I love the parlay. I love the new section. And folks, get ready because we're going to be having more of these coming your way whenever we can. But if there's juice on it, trust and believe we're going to be bringing it right to you.
You heard that? All right, close us out. This is really the last one that I wanted to talk about. Oban Elliott versus Val Woodburn. I don't want to mention that one, but Oban Elliott, man, there's a roundabout moment right here. He retired not that long ago, man, and then now he's back in the mix and doing the thing in the UFC. You gotta love that. Val Woodburn gets a second shot, all that good stuff. This is it though. Andrea Lee, Miranda Maverick, AJ. This happens to be a prop lock of yours, right? Miranda Maverick, you like the juice. I think you got her in at a good money, minus 180. She's clearly swollen to minus 205 here, at least on the UFC's page. I think you're right. I'm going to tail you because I actually really like this bet right here. I think Miranda the Maverick gets it done. Do you think right here that this one goes the distance? Reason why, I was looking at the over 2.5 rounds, and I think it's fucking chalk, man. It's like minus 300 or something like that. You think that it's pretty confident that we're heading there?
Pretty confidence hitting there. The one hang up I have, and we've seen it happen to Miranda Maverick before, she tends to sometimes falter and fight to the level of her opponents. It makes me very nervous, but I do think this one can go the distance. And like I said, there's a reason it's a prop lock, folks. Miranda Maverick, if she's the fear that night, she's going to be doing very well.
Yep, needs to be the fear in order to make it happen right there, folks. But hey, listen, that's your prelim pour over. Those are your bets. We gave you the parlay watch. What more can you ask for? Well, we made it to another outro. Now, folks, again, I told you I was going to save it to the end. We're not going to let you go without it. AJ, I think you got a couple demands that you need to make. So go ahead, brother. Do the thing.
Absolutely, Derek. Like Derek said before, if you're not betting with us, if you're not putting your money down, man, shame on you. We're going to be laughing to the bank all day because we're doing this week in and week out. So make sure I'm making the demands like my man said, demanding you to subscribe, demanding you to share with your friends because we're here consistently. We're never going to be stopping this. We're here all day long and watching these fights for you. Do yourself a favor. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you go to the sports book and make sure you win some money this weekend and then let everybody know where it is. Because there's money to be had right here on the Bloody Water Podcast. Make sure you're subscribed.
That's it for us, folks. Catch us on Monday for the UFC 298 post show. And until then, Catch you next time, folks. Peace.